Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is Aligning with Success, Mike DiMuccio, and my posse, people who are totally hooked, line, and sinker, in love and passionate about what we're doing right now on the planet and through this vehicle called NICAN, the world tour that we've launched in many cities across North America. I've had a great visit over the last week, bouncing from one city to the next. I got some people on the line I see who have been major contributors. Doug, just so you know, I actually listened to that Simon Sinek, passed it on to Ben. I think some of those notes have appeared in the PowerPoint that he's going to deliver tomorrow. So thanks for that insight on millennials and how they think and what's going on in their life. And I've got some contributors here, Dr. Stanley Bogus, who was a major player in yesterday's event in Cleveland, who contributed his story. Amazing. Madeline, thank you so much for choreographing all of this. And all the people who've made the last moments or the last week of my life meaningful and purposeful. It's not easy when you jump on the road and decide that you're going to do something and spend time away from things that you normally do and your typical routine. And, you know, it's easy to get into that routine. And I decided to break out of that routine and get busy with my passion and my purpose because I was getting rusty. And you guys came to bat with me and have contributed this week to making this week a really great week. And I hope, as a result of maybe even this call, that we can inspire some of the people who've got up-and-coming launches to make their launches that much more productive, that much better. So I want to dedicate this call to insights from what you've gained over the whole experience of the NICAN 2017 launch, the World Tour, anything that you've gained from understanding of the new compensation plan, the new incentives, or any of the activities that are involved around this World Tour, this event, the event that you may have hosted. If you had to do it over again, what would you do different? What did you like about what you did? So I'm going to open the floor and just see what anybody has to say about that for the benefit of others. Remember, we're recording this, so let's get some nuggets out of this call. So who would like to go first? Okay, Madeline, I volunteer you.
Oops. Did I unmute myself?
No, you're good. You're good to go.
I guess I'd like to ask Christine. I got a text from her today that she said great event. So we had a 32-year-old up there doing a strength test. So Christine, why was it great? What was great for you?
Hello. It was actually one of the first events that I've been to. So it was just great seeing how things were done. That's why I liked it.
And you had your husband there for the first time. You've been to the East Coast Expo and San Antonio. So what was different?
It was just smaller, just more personable.
Okay. And what's your husband's feedback from this?
He really liked it. It made him realize why I'm excited about NICAN.
Fabulous. And that's a huge thing, by the way. If you have a significant other in your life and they're not yet on side, they're not yet supportive, I can't encourage this enough. You know, get them exposed to it, whatever you have to do to get them exposed, because when they're on side and they become a supporter and a fan and maybe even a helper contributing, this is going to make a huge difference for you.
And that being the case, Eunice is Christine's mother. So I was watching Eunice's husband nodding his head and seeing the nonverbal. So for him, what's the word that you use on the event, Mike? When you go to different events and then there's the event that's what's the word that you use?
I'm not sure.
Okay, the decision event or something?
Oh, well, you tend to make big decisions at the lock-in event. You mean the lock-in event?
Lock-in event. Okay,
yes,
the lock-in event. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, the lock-in event. And I watched Brian for 15 years now. So Eunice, what happened with Brian on the way home? No, you're we can't hear you. What about Eunice?
Let me unmute you. You're unmuted, Eunice. Go ahead.
Because this is a family team here, a mother and a okay, go ahead, Eunice.
He's always been on board and supportive, and he did start mentioning at least about 3 or 4 different people that he needs to introduce this to.
Maybe it was Suzanne that shared that. Suzanne, you had a discussion with Brian on an ABC.
Actually, I just met Brian last night, and he was talking with Mark Alvol, who is someone that he knew prior, and I just happened to be part of this conversation. And he said, I understand, I've always been supportive of my wife, but this is the first time that I'm now excited to share this with other people. He said, because there's actually a business plan now.
He related to that, Mike, and where I was standing, that's when his head went up and down when you said, because a couple times he said, well, I don't know about that curly-headed Italian, with your law of attraction. For Brian, that was, a little bit out there. But when you said that you got so excited because of the business plan, he was in that room in San Antonio, saw your excitement, and then this was his lock-in event. Because for Brian, it's all business. And you might remember the first time that I introduced you to him. And so I guess what I'd like to say, when you have 60 people there, different people are going to come away with different things. Some said they wish they would have had more time for products. Others said we spend too much time on products. But what can you really squeeze in this kind of a 2-hour event? I think people really wanted to hear you. They can hear me at another time. So I said when I was taking you to the airport this morning, if you only have a 2-hour block, maybe a little less time for the product. But it depends on who the audience is. And we did have new guests, and they did want to know about the product. And so I don't know. Stan, you were there. Elaine Matthews, she had a really good response from the people that she brought, a lock-in event for them too. And Amanda, who's been on fire, her husband's a chiropractor. Do you want to share with us, Elaine, what might have happened that got you so excited?
Yes, her husband, Justin, he was talking on the way home. He was really excited about what he learned. It was his first event. He kind of wanted to know more about the business plan. He wanted to know what the business plan was. And I said, I'll get a hold of it. I said, I'll get it to you.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then tonight when I talked to him, he said, strange you call. He said, I'm actually doing an elevator speech. I'm working on my elevator speech.
Well, I hear the thing about the regional planning, Mike complimented me in the beginning. So we have from Philadelphia to Chicago, and I see where Connie Talkington just pulled in, down to Louisville, Kentucky. We have Pam down in Louisville. So this whole region, we used to have big events, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Erie. We moved around in this whole region, Chicago, and it was regional planning. And so we pulled together this regional plan. And what's exciting now is Elaine has events that are close to, they're in Pennsylvania. So now Brian already knows Mark, and Kathy Soroka's on fire. She's a platinum who held big events all the time in Pittsburgh and has been kind of off on a leave, seeing about what's going on. And she is on fire. I copied and added to the launch app. And so now my team, 3 hours away, has support. So this whole watering of those little seeds, Michael, that you mentioned, the momentum is gaining momentum so that now we have Crossline. And one of the things that Kathy Soroka said, because Mike is her new upline now, and she said, I not only feel he's my upline, but I feel he's everyone's upline. And that is a message for all of us when we talk about collaborative entrepreneurship. And so that's what we have here. These are the seeds that have been planted on this, which is so important for us, for the team building and the growing and catching ideas from one another, the Platinum Alliance. And I was in a funeral procession, so I wasn't on that whole thing today. But I did, the few comments that I made was, from that bigger group of 40, now we have groups of platinums around the country, the East Coast and the Southeast. They're pulling together and putting some things on, and up in Maine and New Hampshire, and we're sharing with one another tips. And so it truly is a wave that is all of those little pebbles going in there, and it just feels so good. So when you talk about the energy and the feeling, that's the part that just feels different. And I think as far as tips goes, it's just like what we're supposed to do. Rather than lead with this and lead with that, look at who your audience is and kind of individualize it a little bit. If you have a bunch of new people, or if you have people that have been away, but they didn't leave because they love Niken and now they're back, you excite one Kathy Soroka, and what do we have going again? You know, and so, and then the colleagueship. I don't know about me. I was the Uber cab this morning, taking Suzanne at 3:30 in the morning and coming back and picking up Mike at 9 in the morning. But having those parties at the house beforehand and afterwards, and sharing the dinners, and so, or down in the lobby or wherever you were now before coming back up from Chicago. So there truly needs to be the relationship relationship management. I have an MBA student that's been kind of I've been buddying with her since she just came to the United States. Mike, you might want to comment on that, on what we all learned from her on relationships and customers.
Well, it's interesting because we had a millennial last night at dinner. Tonight, we had a millennial at dinner. And Connie, maybe you can speak to that, because it was fabulous. I enjoy just letting them talk. I want to hear what they have to say, because they have so much insight from the way the world looks from their point of view. I mean, we're talking about a millennial. They're 20 years younger than me, and I want to get a perspective on how the world looks like from their point of view, and be able to then relate to and communicate the value and the benefits of an association with Niken. And in fact, I extended my commitment to them to support and work with them personally if they decide to take on this as a leadership role and lead that generation, a lost generation. I mean, they may look like they got their act together, but truth be known, as Doug would point out, yeah, they need some leadership. They need some guidance. And so to be able to coach and guide and mentor them, I feel that that's our role as those of us who've been around for a while. And so this next generation that we're giving birth to, I don't care what their age group is. It doesn't matter how old they are. What I'm hearing on this call is a level of enthusiasm and excitement that hasn't been heard in a while. And it's that pebble in the pond making another splash and another wave. And guys, you know what you did the first go around. Those of you who've had a first go around, you know the influence that you've had has extended and has gone on to influence not only the lives of many others, but even your own personal life, your own personal trajectory in life. I had the pleasure of interviewing Stanley last night, 24 years after the fact, 24 years after he was introduced to Niken. And he was literally knocking on death's doorstep, and he would have welcomed that at that moment in time when Niken came into his life. And here he is 24 years later, influencing a whole new generation of people to begin a journey that he began 24 years ago that has transformed his life and the lives of thousands. The responsibility that we have, I hope you feel it. The responsibility that we have to take the knowledge that we have, the passion that we have, and be able to impart it to a new generation of people. Again, regardless of age, they're beginning the trajectory of their life, the next phase of their life, because we have somehow come into their life. That is a God-given blessing and a benefit for all. So don't take it lightly. Shout this thing from the rooftop. Connie, I know I've got you on the line. You were just recently at dinner. What insights have you got from today's events?
Oh my gosh, it was so wonderful to hear this younger woman talking about the mission that she feels she has. You know, when you're 70 years old, you think, oh, this younger generation, do they have anything to contribute or whatever? And she is so right on. It was so nice to hear her talk. And she's so right on. It was very good. It was very nice. Very nice. We had a great time.
And I myself was inspired by it, because this is a person who has a keen sense of, she has an eye toward the future, recognizing that if things continue the way they are, that's not very promising. And she has also an understanding of current reality. So I would say that she is a lot like I was when I was 27 years old, 28 years old, coming into Nikan. I was actually one of the youngest kids in Nikan at the time. In fact, when I went Royal Diamond, I was the youngest Royal Diamond in all of Nikan at the time. So I know that what it feels like to be really at the early stages of development of your life, your career, your understanding of who you are, and to embark on a career in Nikan. To embark on a journey with Nikan, I didn't expect it to be a career, so let's be honest. I started Nikan, it became a career, but to be at that young age and to have a view of the world that was different, was a little bit more encompassing than the average view. But then if I look back now, 25 years later, that gave me the horsepower to have made an influence and a difference. So we need to look at these people who come into our lives who have passion for the future, who have a clear understanding that they have a purpose in life, and they're seeking that purpose to give them guidance and direction and help them explore the possibility that this may be a way for them to, if not make a full-time career of this, at least to give them an outlet for that creative element that's within them, that need to explore and to share and to be an influence in the lives of others. I think that's the key. I think at the end of the day, in fact, for every one of us on this call, Stan, for you, who, like me, has been a veteran in Nikan for 20 plus years, it's to be an influence in the lives of other people for the better, to be an influence for good. And I've never been more excited about Nikan. I've never had, in all my years in Nikan, I've never had a team to work with like this. I worked with Royal Diamonds in creating a thing called Team Diamond, but even then, it was sort of every man for themselves coming together to do the best for the best, but it wasn't too personal. It's not as personal as it is right now, and I know that makes me vulnerable, especially after a few glasses of wine, but I'm totally into this. I really appreciate the fact that you're all contributors to the evolution of the Nikan experience, and that you're not waiting for me. You're all stepping up to the plate, and you're all saying, you know what, this is our time. This is how we're going to contribute to this next wave. And I really want to get this message across, if anything. You each have your role to play in the evolution of this process, in the evolution of Nikan, and in the birth of the next wave, the next generation. You're the ones who 5, 10, 15 years from now will be able to look back and say, there was this moment in time where I stepped up to the plate like never before. I was vulnerable. I was open. And I just threw my hat in the ring. And I said, I'm going to do this because this feels right. And you will have influenced lives. I mean, when you're me, I swear to God, if I could give you a glimpse in my life for a second and just say, holy smokes, what an honor it is to hear what I'm hearing, to know that somehow, some way, whatever decision I made has influenced this situation for others and countless others that will come yet as a result of that. What an amazing honor that is. And each and every one of us are that. Every one of us are that voice. Each and every one of us have a right and a privilege to be that person who has made an impact in the lives of thousands of people, people you may never ever meet. But you know, because the decisions you made to step out in front instead of sitting in the background, sitting on the sidelines, to go on a limb, to make that extra phone call, to go on, to make that call, like as Dr. Paul Calloway was talking about, his upline reached down into that person and just asked the right questions, got honest with somebody and said, like, is that really what you like to do? What would you do if that wasn't what you were doing? And to have that kind of a conversation with somebody where they divulge how they really feel, that's the turning point in someone's life. Because who asks that? Like, who has time for that? Who asks that? We're in the text era, you know, but who really asks those questions that get really to the heart of the matter? We do. You on this call, you do. Because you know that's the high-yielding questions. That's the questions that change lives. Who else has got some insights from the last event or so that you've had? Suzanne, you have a text message here. Why don't you share a little bit with us what you've got? Can't hear you. What's happened?
I can't.
Oh, there you go.
remember
There you go.
what-
Okay, I can hear you.
I can't remember what I texted you.
Something about Sanaa last night.
Oh, yes. And I still can't remember.
They're going to shorten the time of NBA, NFL, and other sporting games because of lack of focus.
Thank you. Yes. So we talked about the lack of focus with the millennials, and my husband Jeff said, "Did you see the news that they're looking at shortening NBA and NFL and all the games out there because of the millennials, because they can't focus too long." And
Their attention span.
I just thought, wow, how could this happen 10 hours later that the NBA is now changing because they can't focus for an extra 6 minutes.
That's incredible.
It's profound, but it's true. And it's back to what we were talking around the table last night.
Now, she was attentive around the table and the 2 hours didn't bother her, but she's on break before school begins. She would not give that amount of time once she's dedicated to studying. And she did share that, it's a short period of time. So as far as how long an event is or how we relate to the millennials and get the millennials invited and get their attention. But I think, Mike, you also spoke to purpose. If someone has a passion and a purpose, they'll be engaged, particularly if that, I think, happens to be the lock-in event. I like that word, lock-in, or the lock-in thought, or the lock-in whenever something happens. So what I'm excited about is the feelings, the vibrations are so positive. Maybe Christine, that's what was different with this event, with each one. And so then with that, when you're feeling, you hear something differently or you just react differently. Mike, this is your specialty.
Okay, so what we're talking about then is that if we could take this as, let's just say that this week, there's only a handful of cities I've been to, and this is just the opening week. If we can get this much going amongst ourselves in this week, and I know there were guests at each of the events, but even if we just focused on us for a second, if us who know this thing, who feel this thing at a deep level, can get excited, like we're brand spanking new again, knowing who we are and what we're capable of and how passionate we are about this, what's the impressions that we can make going forward? So I would suggest that you consider that and create your plan for the next, not 90 days, 30 days. Shorten that down. Create a real focus for yourself. In fact, I would encourage you to set a target for yourselves to hit the very first recognition, the very first incentive, Entrepreneur Club. I think that is a worthy thing to achieve personally, because we are saying, I'm going to show you, I'm going to coach you, I'm going to work with you to create this stair-step approach to success in Niken, starting with the Entrepreneurs Club. Well, what is the Entrepreneurs Club? It's us getting behind our motivation, our excitement, our enthusiasm, contacting and inviting people to explore this Niken, this new Niken, and it might be revisiting people who've known that you've been involved with this for a long, long time and just saying, hey, there's something you need to hear. You need to hear it because I'm telling you need to hear it. You need to be that kind of bold. And I'm telling you, I believe, honestly, people will stop in their tracks and listen to you when they hear a you they're not familiar with. So when you become a little insistent on, I'm calling you because I absolutely am compelled to call you, to tell you what I know, what I feel, what I see, what I believe to be true. It may not necessarily fall that way for you, but I cannot help myself. I'm compelled to do so. So please indulge me, allow me this moment in time to share with you what I am so gobsmack excited about. Man, if you said those words with conviction to anybody who knows you, they will stop in their tracks and they will listen. And if you feel the way you feel about this because it's mattered to you, imagine if they had the benefit of your knowledge. Imagine if they gave themselves permission to experience what you've experienced. You don't think they'd be saying that too? So it's almost out of obligation to give them the benefit of the experience to say, stop. Like, I need you to listen right now because this is important.
I think for me, Mike, if I can just say, because I always speak with conviction, and what I get is that I'm pushing and the telling. And so I was listening to the words you were using and feeling your emotion, and I think the feeling, it's really the feeling, and to say I'm sharing this with you because I'm feeling it, and really be showing that I'm feeling something different. You know, I mean, my enthusiasm, and you know, poor Eunice has been there for my pushing for all these years, and she has stayed with me. She's been so good as being an anchor and helping me grow in that way. But you know, I'm hoping that for both, because I've known Christine that long too. She's been in this wellness home since she was 18. I feel different. And so for all my colleagues that are here, I want all of you to help me, because this is what I need to master. I know for me is to not be telling and pushing, but because I'm Madeline and I'm going to continue being Madeline, you know, but how do I garner that in a way that it really is that so positive and it is really sharing my vibration?
Try using the words, I feel compelled.
I feel compelled. Okay. Well, I heard you say, I did hear you say that. Okay,
when I use those words, when I say I feel compelled, that is something that's like an energy working itself within me that says you have to do this. I'm almost beyond myself, beyond reason, having to do this. And so it almost excuses you of reason. It's I feel compelled. I need to share this with you. So, you know, many of you have spent in the last few hours, in the last few days, connecting with the vibe of Niken, like that
heart, the humans being more.
Yeah, thank you. That heart, the very heart of Niken. And I know when you connect to that, you do feel compelled. And so that's maybe the exercise that needs to be garnered here, is that we need to connect to the heart, connect to the vibe, that original thing that we fell in love with, that we are in love with, hook into that and say, oh my God, who should I not share this with? I mean, I'm compelled to share this. So when you pick up the phone and call somebody and you say, look, I am compelled to talk to you right now because of what I feel that's going on in Niken, and what I know about this and what I know about you. So indulge me, just indulge me. And I think that kind of a level of conversation, few people have. I mean, in the course of a day, few people have that level of conversation. It's almost unheard of. Who would take the chance? Who would take the risk? Who would go so far as to say, I feel compelled? Who would allow themselves to be that vulnerable to somebody? Because everybody's so up into the pretenses of how it's supposed to look like, and I'm supposed to be king of the world, and I'm supposed to have my act together and so forth. So we tend to not feel compelled to be vulnerable. But if you are that, what you're hitting them on is a frequency that's totally in sync with who they really are, and they may show up. And when they show up, that's when the conversation begins. And when they show up, that's when you really have somebody listening for the first time, maybe for the first time listening with a new set of ears to what's really going on. I realize Niken is a business. I realize Niken involves transaction. I realize Niken involves products. But I know you guys are not plugging in on this call at this hour to hear about that. You guys are plugged in because you know this is bigger than that. This is more important than that. This is about what comes as a consequence of the association with the whole organization, with the theme, with the vibe, with the consciousness of this.
And I think, Mike, because we have loved it and we have wanted to be more successful, and we've been frustrated because with the old model, we haven't been able to. And so, you know, it's not an either or that we don't love the products, but we just we want networks for more people to, because that is who stayed. The ones who really love the products and who really love the HBM classes, and that we have something different. I always show that Team Diamond balance wheel, and I say, this is our product. You know, all these other things.
What a great gig we've got, huh?
Yeah, that's our product.
We got a great gig. If you're looking for a gig, we got the best gig going on.
Can I just jump in for 1 sec?
You bet.
Okay. I think that Madeline specifically, and maybe this is for other people too, but when you hear Mike say, I feel compelled, and you feel the vibration and the calmness and the focus, it's a vibration that may be different than the vibration that you're used to putting out. And it's not it's a sure vibration, but it's a calm vibration versus a vibration that's, at a 10. It's a 10, but it's a very calm, and it causes people to just listen and focus and hear. So I think that's something that can really cause people to tune in versus feel a different experience.
To tune out. Yeah. Thank you, Suzanne.
I share this story every now and then, but what you're saying reminds me of that cruise in San Diego Harbor with Zig Ziglar and Larry Prophet and Beverly Peppin and Tom Watanabe and Isamu Masuda and his son Koji, and gosh, all the people that were on board on that little cruise, President's Club members. And I was a diamond, and I actually have a photograph of this moment. I don't know how the heck that happened, but actually have a photograph of this moment in time. And I've showed it on some of my PowerPoint presentations, but it was a monumental moment because I asked Mr. Masuda a bunch of questions at that time. And I was at a vulnerable place in my life because even though I was a diamond, and even though I was making over $20,000 a month, you'd think, what the heck more does this kid want? He's never had that. But I had a vision for myself that was big and that was purpose-driven. And I needed to know in my heart that this was it. This was the place that I was supposed to be at, this sense of feeling in my heart that I'm supposed to be somewhere. I'm supposed to be doing something. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have had that feeling. And so when I came across Nikan, the question for me was whether or not Nikan was big enough for me, not whether I was big enough for Nikan. Believe it or not, that's what I was thinking. And so this opportunity to interview Mr. Masuda and ask him some pertinent questions, the one question of all the questions I remember asking him, I don't remember that many, was, did you ever expect to see the business, this success that you've experienced? And he paused. I had a translator, Rio Kendall was the one translating, and he heard the question, translated in Japanese, and then he paused. And then he came back to me with an answer. And that answer was the perfect answer for me. At that moment in time when I was contemplating whether or not this was the place to be, could I trust my future? Could I trust my integrity? Could I trust my soul, my life's purpose to this situation about making money, about, this business, this product? Like, is that what I've come to? And he said this. He said, I was interested in my health, and I thought others might be interested in theirs. And that was so simplistic and so innocent and so vulnerable. I mean, think about it. You're the CEO, you're the chairman of the board, you're the sole proprietor, you're a billionaire, and you want to impress this young kid who could, maybe do something with this. That's what you say? That's your wisdom? You say, I was just interested in my health and I thought others might be as well? That's a very simplistic answer. And yet, at the same time, it was the most powerful answer I could have heard. Because if you're coming from a spiritual place and a sense of knowing, you don't want to be told, oh, yeah, kid. Yeah, we knew this was, we had a great idea. and wait till you see what's coming next. Boy, do we have more coming. You don't want to hear that. What you want to hear is, I hadn't a clue. I just did what came natural, and holy crap, look at this. Is this amazing or what? He was just as excited about what was going on around him than any of us. That's what I want to hear. That it was organic, that it was natural, and that he was swept up in the movement of purity, of innocence, of the beauty and the elegance of what this has to offer people. And that's what I knew I needed to hear to make a career of this, to be assured that I was at the right place, that I could trust my future to this, because otherwise, what was I selling myself short on? I'd have been selling my soul for what? For a little bit of recognition, for a little bit of money? Couldn't do it. So to know that he was it was in way over his head, and was just as much in awe of the situation as I was, for me was the telltale sign that this was divinely inspired, that I really found something that was meant to be, and it was going to be, and I happened to be one of the people who could make it, really shine. So here we are. Some years later, you're now being called. You're now being called. It's me asking on behalf of him, asking on behalf of the source that inspired this to be the best that you can be in the name and the sake of other people. You thought that you might be able to benefit from this, and maybe you thought others could as well. And so here we go.
Mike, I wanted to actually give you some feedback from our event here in San Francisco. Every single person whom I had invited could not help the fact to ask the question, who was Mike? He spoke so great in a sense where the attraction was just drawing them more closer and closer about, your thoughts, the company, every involvement, what your purpose was. And it was very, very attracting. So however you bring to every city that you are doing your world tour, know the fact everything that you're saying is bringing people closer in. They're listening more closer to what Nikken has to offer, and also, from your thoughts. You have such high caliber thoughts that most people just didn't even have a clue how they could discover it in this sort of manner.
Thank you, Doug. And I truly appreciate your perspective. I know you're the new kid on the block on this team, and yet I know that you've got a future ahead of you that's really big and really bright. And I'm proud to be able to work with you and assist you in creating that. So I know thank you. We're kind of at the close of this call, and I don't want to run on and run on and on. I know we've got some upcoming events. Please check out Active Wellness Tour. Just look at what's going on. Push it out. Send it through your Facebook page. Send it out to some friends who you might have in the area. And show some support to those other friends and colleagues of ours who are out there putting their stuff on the line to get the word out, the message out, the meaning out, that we're here to stay, and we want to be bigger, bolder, and better than ever, not for the sake of ourselves. We're going to be fine. No matter what happens, we're going to be fine. We already discovered Nikken. It's for the sake of other people, the people who don't know we exist, don't know that this is an alternative for them, that they could have a better future because of it. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We're always going to be taken care of as long as we're doing the right thing for the right reason. So I know we are. I know this group is. I know the people who are my collaborators in the world tour are. Our heart's in the right place. Let's just give it our best. So let's make the most of what these events are about. Bring more people, invite more guests. When I come through your town again, show me by the results of your efforts how much this means to you. Yeah? All right, guys. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much for taking the call.